India, the land of inner peace, amazing food, and impeccable hygiene. At least, that's what they want you to believe, right? But let me tell you how it really was. In 3 days, I almost lost my sense of smell, my patience, and nearly a friend. There was harassment, chaos, and a survival class straight out of The Walking Dead. Want to know what it's really like to set foot there? And if you're a woman, be careful, because what I'm about to tell you, no one else has the guts to show. Number 1, a country that sells peace and delivers chaos. You know that country the whole world associates with spirituality, yoga, meditation, inner peace. Well, that's where I went, India, land of the gods and impeccable hygiene. And I can assure you, of the few things I felt there, peace was not one of them. As soon as I set foot in Delhi, the capital, I was greeted by 40 degrees in the shade, a haze of pollution thick enough to mine rocks from my nose, and a soundtrack of honking that never stops, never, ever. Imagine Sao Paulo traffic, but with cows crossing the road, tuk-tuks honking non-stop, and people selling corn in the middle of the street, all at the same time. Delhi is the kind of place that doesn't do things halfway. Either you love it or you have a sensory meltdown in 5 minutes. I don't think an autistic person could be raised there. The city is split between Old Delhi, which is pure chaos, and New Delhi, which tries to pretend everything's under control. And guess where I ended up first? That's right in the eye of the storm, Old Delhi. There, it's like time is stuck in an endless loop of traffic, noise, and people, so many people. There are 33 million people just in that area. Can you even imagine? And the craziest part is, it's not just people. There are goats, monkeys, dogs sleeping on top of motorcycles, and power lines hanging from poles like jungle vines. And the weirdest thing, it works. Somehow, everything there just keeps spinning. But what shocked me the most wasn't even the chaos. It was how the chaos is accepted, like it's just part of the daily routine. People live in the middle of all that like it's the most natural thing in the world. While you're trying to cross the street scared for your life, there's a guy next to you pulling a rickshaw with 2 people in the back, smiling like he's on a safari. But I'll be honest, I was in shock and, at the same time, fascinated. Now tell me, would you dare to walk through that chaos with a smile, or would you have already run back to the airport? Number 2, the market that makes you cough up your soul. You know that place where you think you're going in to see exotic spices, but end up leaving with a scratchy throat, burning eyes, and your lungs begging for mercy? Well, welcome to Delhi's Spice Market. The name even sounds nice, Curry Pauli Market. But going in there is like diving into a bag of chili powder. Right at the entrance, you're hit by a mix of smells your brain can't even process. There's turmeric, black pepper, ginger, cumin, clove, cinnamon, star anise. And all of it in concentrated form, floating in the air, a cloud invading your senses. No exaggeration, everyone coughs. Even the vendors who've been there for years still wear scarves over their faces. But the scene is beautiful. Narrow corridors with giant sacks of spices stacked up to the ceiling. Vibrant colors, textures, aromas, it looks like a living painting. Except instead of enjoying the art, you're just trying not to tear up like a kid who accidentally bit into a chili. And the hustle and bustle, it's insane. People carrying 50-kilo sacks on their backs. Carts squeezing through the crowd. Men shouting out prices. And tourists like me, trying to figure out where the corridor ends and the next sneezing fit begins. There, you understand why India is one of the world's biggest spice exporters. Its volume, its variety, its power. It's not seasoning, it's ammunition. But don't be fooled. It's not a place to go if you're hungover or have a sensitive nose. 5 minutes in there and you realize your sense of smell is overrated. In the end, I left with a dry throat, a little bag of turmeric, and the certainty that it was a full-on sensory experience. The smells were anything but pleasant, intense, and almost traumatic. 3. Transportation for pennies. If you think you've tried alternative transport, it's only because you've never ridden a rickshaw in India. Picture a little bicycle cart with a bench in the back. Now put 2 adults in there. Then imagine a skinny old man, silently sweating, pedaling the 2 of you through chaotic traffic where honking is basically the official language. The price? 50 rupees, less than $1. Sounds like a joke, right? But he pedals for 30 minutes, dodging potholes, cows, motorcycles, and kids darting out of nowhere. And he does all this with a smile on his face, like it's just a stroll in the park. Then you think, oh, maybe he just does it for fun. Not at all. It's hard work. Most of these men do this 8 to 10 hours a day, every single day. And when I asked my guide about the caste system, he was blunt. He wasn't from the right caste. That's why he pedals. In other words, he didn't even have a choice. Born outside the circle, born into a lower caste. All that's left is pedaling. At least he's not cleaning sewers with others from even lower castes. You start to realize that, a lot of things aren't about what you want, they're about your social destiny. And the rickshaw, which once seemed exotic, becomes a portrait of inequality on wheels. But even so, the ride has its own charm. You watch the city go by slowly, feel the wind on your face, the scent of something clean in the air. And at the same time, there's a slight pang of guilt, right? Because someone's back there, sweating buckets, just to carry you around for a handful of coins. Is it cheap? Yeah. But once you understand the context, it's hard to see it as fair. And you? Would you still call it a tourist attraction? Would you have the guts to carry people around like a donkey hauling 2 fools in a cart? And on top of that, for less than $1. 4. When the tourist becomes the spectacle. In India, you're not a tourist. You're the attraction. A kind of rare, exotic Pokemon that everyone wants to catch on their phone, especially if you're a beautiful woman. And at first, it's even fun. A group approaches your friend, smiles, asks to take a picture of her. You think, look at that, how friendly the locals are. But then another one comes, and then another. Suddenly, there are 15 people surrounding her with cameras in hand. You don't even know anymore who's asking for a photo and who's already snapping pictures without permission. That's when a guide told me, those photos aren't just souvenirs. A lot of people use them to post on social media, saying you're their friend, girlfriend, or foreign wife. And some take it even further. They use your image on websites that, let's just say, aren't exactly family-friendly. If you know what I mean. That's why, after a while, I started refusing and keeping everyone away from her. And guess what? They don't like that at all. Some guys get mad, insist, try to convince you by yelling. And sometimes, they don't even ask. They grab the woman by the arm, spin her around, shove the phone in her face, and snap a picture. That's it. The girl becomes a statistic without even knowing it. And I'm not talking about remote places either. This happened at tourist spots, temples, mosques, sacred places where respect should come first. The truth? They look at women as if they're not real, as if they're just part of the exotic scenery. And in that moment, you get it. In India, it's not you who observes the culture. It's the culture that scans you with their eyes like an animal looking to mate. Can you imagine these guys doing that to your woman? What would you do, man? Number 5. Harassment disguised as friendliness. Everything was going fine. We were in a group, walking around Delhi, enjoying the chaos, trying to soak up as much of the experience as possible. Until I started to notice a different kind of tension. It happened with a friend of mine. She was right by my side the whole time. And even so, it happened right there, in front of me. At first, it was just people staring at her. The kind of stare that makes you want to look away. But she tried to smile, keep things light, and go on with the tour. Then came the first inappropriate touch. A guy walked by and brushed against her, let's say, by accident. 2 minutes later, another guy bumped into her too, in the same spot. Yes, exactly where you're thinking. Only this time, with his hand. She turned to me, pale, and whispered, "Don't leave my side." And I understood. It was obvious. They were just waiting for her to move away from the men in the group. All it took was for the guys to take 2 steps ahead and they would close in. They blocked the way, said things no one could understand and others that we understood perfectly just from their looks and gestures. One of them even grabbed her arm in front of everyone, as if no one else mattered. He only backed off when he saw me standing there, already staring at him with my fist clenched like a rock. If he hadn't let go, I can't say what I would have done, but I know exactly what would have happened to him. His head definitely wouldn't have gone home in one piece. Man, that was the first time on a trip that I truly felt angry, because that wasn't curiosity, it wasn't culture, it was intimidation. And there were no police around, no one there for her. If we hadn't been together, I don't know how it would have ended. And you know what got to me the most? It's that they act like it's normal, like that's just part of the experience of being a woman in that country. That day, we realized you can't let your guard down for even a second, not in a group, not during the day, not even with a guide. What would you have done in that situation? I'm just glad I didn't have to react. It was truly a blessing, especially being in a foreign country. 6. Fernanda's case, violence that isn't the exception. There are things you hear that just make you freeze. Your body freezes. Your throat goes dry. And the anger comes too, like it happened to someone in your own family. That's exactly how I felt when I heard what happened to Fernanda. She's 28, Brazilian, and also has Spanish citizenship. She was traveling the world by motorcycle with her husband, Vicente, who's 63. 2 experienced backpackers. They had already been to more than 60 countries. Always camping, sleeping on the road, living the nomad dream. Until they got to India. In the city of Dumka, in the state of Jharkhand. Night fell and they decided to camp right there, near a police station. It seemed safe, but nothing could have prepared them for what was about to happen. 7 men. Yes, 7. They broke into the tent in the middle of the night. Vicente was beaten and threatened. And Fernanda. Fernanda was taken and, let's say, violated for 3 hours by several of them, taking turns. 3 hours of pure terror. Can you imagine that? My God. Sleeping peacefully at a campsite and waking up in a never-ending nightmare. At the hospital, both of them were covered in injuries. And even so, Fernanda had the strength to say, "I was sure we were going to die." It was a miracle they made it out alive. The local police arrested 8 suspects, days later. 3 at first, and then 5 more afterwards. The Indian government even paid compensation of 1 million rupees. As if money could erase what she went through. And the most outrageous part. They weren't outlaws, they weren't fugitives from justice. They were ordinary people who saw a woman alone and decided to do the unthinkable, because what she went through could have happened to anyone, even to my friend or to you watching right now. This story changes everything because it shows you, without any sugarcoating, that India isn't just tourist chaos. It's also a place where danger is real, especially for women. And if you think this is an isolated case, I'm sorry to tell you, it's not. India records about, let's say, rape of women every 18 minutes. Children, teenagers, travelers. No one is really safe. And that's why this video needed to exist. Because what happened to Fernanda cannot be just another forgotten headline. And you? How did you feel hearing that? Comment below. What would you do if it were you and your wife? 7. Among flowers, costumes, and traditions. After so much chaos, harassment, noise, heavy emotion, I needed to breathe. And that's when India got me again. But this time, not with shock, with delight. On the outskirts of a Hindu temple, there was a stall selling flowers, but they weren't flowers to decorate a house. They were offerings to the gods. Lotus, chrysanthemums, jasmines, all in colorful baskets, all fresh. You choose, pay right there, something like 10 or 15 rupees, and enter the temple with it in your hand. It's your gift to the god of the moment. I saw people going in with milk, rice, fruit, incense, even scented oil. Each one giving what they can. It's not about luxury, it's about faith. Inside, there's a bit of everything. People praying in silence, others singing, others with their eyes closed, murmuring mantras. Some kneel, some lie on the floor, some touch the statue. There's no right way to show faith. And along with that, come the clothes. Man, the saris are a show all on their own. It's meters and meters of fabric wrapped around women's bodies with vibrant colors, embroidered details, stones, sparkles. Each one more beautiful than the last. There are saris for parties, for weddings, for everyday wear. There are saris that cost 200 rupees and saris that cost 5,000. And the men also have their traditional outfits. Kurtas, Punjabis, long shirts with loose pants. It even looks like ceremonial clothing, but it's what many people wear every day, especially near the temples. Everything there carries symbolic weight. The colors, the fabrics, the jewelry, even the red dot on the forehead, the bindi, all have spiritual meaning. It's not just about aesthetics, it's identity, it's belief, it's ancestry walking down the street. And in the middle of all this, you, the tourist, with your basic t-shirt and sweaty sneakers, feel a bit out of place, a bit silly, but also grateful to be able to witness it. India is the kind of place where even the market turns into an anthropology class. You go in to buy a scarf and leave with your head full of existential questions. And between one bargain and another, you realize that this colorful chaos makes sense to them. It might seem like too much for outsiders, but for those born there, it's just another ordinary day. At that moment, I realized that India isn't just about duality. It's constant contradiction. It's the place where the same people who ignore a woman being harassed on the street are also capable of kneeling with tears in their eyes before a sacred image. It's the country where chaos and faith walk side by side, where you can feel suffocated and just 2 blocks later, moved. India is intense, exhausting, and yes, dangerous. But it's also human, deeply human. Full of flaws, mistakes, injustices, but also of people who believe, pray, give thanks, and ask for forgiveness. And it was there, watching that lady pray with her eyes closed, that I realized you can't put India in a box. It doesn't fit any label. It confuses you, irritates you, fascinates you. And maybe that's exactly what makes this place so hard to forget. 8. Would I go back to India? You know, when you finish a trip and ask yourself, would I go back? In the case of India, the question gets stuck in your throat. Because, look, I saw beautiful things, I saw real faith. I saw color, I saw culture, I saw history being lived out on the streets. But I also saw fear. I saw the limits of respect being crossed. I saw women next to me being surrounded, touched, treated like a prize. I saw a real horror story with names, faces, and real pain. India taught me a lot, maybe more than any other place. But it taught me in the hardest way. It's the kind of destination that drains you emotionally. It forces you to always be on guard. It shows you the best and the worst of humanity within a 3-block radius. That's why, if you ask me today, would you go back to India? My answer would be, one shitty country is enough, I've already got my own. But who knows, maybe I'll change my mind, right? And if there's one thing I take from here, it's this. Not every place needs to be romanticized just to get views. Not every shock needs to be digested. And most importantly, not every experience is worth repeating. But telling the story, telling it is worth it. Because someone needs to say what so many prefer to hide, whether out of fear of being canceled or being labeled as someone who just complains. Now it's up to you, my friend. Would you have the guts to visit this beautiful country with your wife? And if you made it this far, comment India so I know you're one of the loyal ones. And to learn more about dangerous countries, especially for women, check out this video that's showing up on the screen. Thanks, everyone. See you next time. I'm out.